All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for the first edition of our PGA DFS show here on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station with Hoopster and myself. It's going to be a Tuesday show each week at this time. This week, talking the Sony Open. Going to break it all down, show off some of the things we've got going on over at ShipItNation.com. Hoopster, golf is back. I think our guy Nick was in the chat right out of the gate, said, just when I start getting burnt out on NFL, here's golf DFS to bring me right back in. He's talking about Dumb and Dumber, a little tractor beam, sucked me right back in. Shout out to Nick. What's going on, Hoopster? How you doing, man?
Yeah, excited to be back talking some PGA. I mean, obviously, we still have NFL going. We have the playoffs, which is going to be a lot of fun, obviously, starting this weekend. Shows for every playoff slate, the Saturday slate, the Sunday slate, the showdown slate. We'll have you covered content for all of that. And now we throw PGA back into the mix. Obviously, we had it last week, and obviously the SHIPIT Nation team crushed. Our guy right here, Kenny W., massive win to kick off the season. Plays some higher stakes, but there are a lot of wins with people that played lower stakes as well. Showdown continues to be a main feature, and excited to have it back. We have a really good deal. We're going to talk about that as we go. We're going to kind of talk about the content, talk about what we're going to be offering this season. But it's the same mindset and structure really that we've had for other sports, where we're going to be the most affordable. We're going to just absolutely pound you with value, and the community is a very all-encompassing, helpful spot, and that's what you can expect for the PGA season. And when we started this, we knew we were going to do PGA, but like last year made us realize like PGA is our thing, man. Like obviously we do NFL well, we do the other sports well, but PGA is a huge focus. We made the deal with DeGen, brought him onto our team, and his entire team. Is not just him. He has a team working behind the scenes on the stone, the projections, the ownership. We talk about the showdown stuff all the time, where some of our competitors are literally just rolling out their projections, their main slate projections through showdown all the way through. They got the big price tags on, because this guy, I keep saying it, but it's true, where you have to have this person's projections. Like, no, man, that's just one part of the pie, especially in PGA. That's just one piece of the pie. There's so much more that goes into it. So it's an all-encompassing product, most affordable rate in the industry, and just a ton of different ways you can use our content to be successful at PGA DFS. And it started last week, and it's going to continue all the way through the PGA playoffs. So very excited about the season here.
Yeah, last year it was our guy Newens right here, by the way, just under Kenny, won the Fantasy Golf World Championship seat to start off the season last year. This year they had to round out the King of the Desert first, so they started last week. And yeah, I think it's 5. I think a bunch of other members, even some that don't rock the logo, which we'll have more on some logo stuff. Big appetizer, if you will. The main course is coming up soon, Hoop, but we got appetizers for days going on over at SHIPIT Nation. So it's going to be a lot of fun stuff. Shout out to Razor Sharp in here first. Our guy Rin is back. You know who he's talking about in the.
Oh no, is he? He's not in the field, is he?
He's back.
Oh man, seriously.
And where's my boy Philly Phantom? Love this guy. But shout out, the number one rule about Fight Club is the number one rule about SHIPIT Nation. You don't talk about what those things are in the rankings in the YouTube chat. You got to get over to SHIPIT Nation to check that out. But Hoops, so we're going to do this show like we always do. I think we've done a pretty good job with it with NFL and stuff. There's a ton of shows out there that are going to break down all the picks and plays and all that stuff for you. So we'll go through the ranges, but we're going to stick to roster construction, ideas, concepts, theories of what the field might be doing, early ownership and where we could see that lead and how you'll be able to play against it. Trying to incorporate a little bit more of the 1 to 3 max stuff if you only had a single entry, stuff like that. A lot of the content obviously geared to an MME perspective. I play a ton of MME, but I'm also always working on my game 1 to 3 max. So, and then Hoop, we did it last year. We had to take that approach and get it all the way to the finals at the Fantasy Golf World Championship in your hometown. So hopefully we can run that back again. But where do you want to start here? Go ahead if you got something else, and then I'll
No,
pull
on
up.
a side note, I did see the Live Finals is somewhere in Michigan, so maybe maybe your boy will be out there boots on the ground for the Live Finals this year.
Man. Do it. Get involved, man. I heard a few of those live events were really good last year that people had went to. The one in
I think it would be. I mean, as a golf fan, I think it would be, especially if you have kids or something. It seems like a pretty cool environment, atmosphere. So I will probably check that out. I think it's like the end of August.
And appreciate you. The Dazboo said stoked to join. The customer service has been amazing. We really take pride in that. We do have a smaller team, so we want to make sure we get back to you as soon as possible, help you with whatever we can. But just to show the offerings quickly, and then we'll get into it. But just to note, projections, we talk about it a ton for both Showdown and the main slate. We'll have the initials, the player points, and the ownership. We are adding FanDuel player point projections.
I might need to pause for 1 sec. Might need to pause and then reset. The mic was kind of cutting out.
Do you got me now or no?
Now you're back. Yep. Now you're back 100%. Yep.
If it goes, just cut in right away because I want to make sure we get it. But you've talked about it plenty with Showdown, so I'll start there just real quick. But the setup, right? A lot of sites just bringing across their main slate projections. Ours are completely dynamic. So what I mean by that is quite simple. If you're playing Showdown, and that's where you see our logos by far the most, it's on the daily, round 2, round 3, round 4. It's because of the stone, and it's because the projections are actually dialed in for the weather, the way people have been playing. There's a lot of other factors, but just saying it's not just, let's just carry over the numbers and give the people something, right? It's to give them the accurate setup. The stone, I'm sure DGen will have that previewed out for you guys tomorrow night on the stream. We've got the stone. We are going to work in the new year, probably after football ends, on condensing a little bit of our less is more motto, just to make it even easier for you guys to get all the information in one place when it comes to the additional pieces. Shout out to our guy Lee out there in the UK, busting out the course fit rankings that Philly Phantom mentioned there. Those have been on fire year over year. We've seen it. And then new thing today, DGen's notes and DGen's scorecard. I don't think anyone understands how big of a project this was. Like, talk about a massive, massive undertaking that, DGen and his team put together, bringing it over for SHIPIT Nation. If you guys want, I love a good tidbits piece. Throw an obscure golfer, not someone that's like the new Matsuyama this week, 16-year-old playing in the field. We'll get to that later, but throw an obscure golfer into the chat. We'll have some fun with this as we go throughout.
Yeah, pull that up. There you go. Yeah, just as a sample, just so people can see what's in there. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, it looks better than what's on the PGATour.com, to be honest with you. I mean,
yeah, and people some people are going to start throwing it in, but just a quick note. It's not just the players. Like, we feature if they're on live or not, right? We've got who they are, what their name is. You can search throughout it. It's in alphabetical order here by their first names. So you can go through and find it quickly that way. But like someone said, Vince Whaley.
Oh, that used to be my boy, man.
My
boy.
And other sites will have like a spreadsheet with some notes around a guy, and who knows if they're valid or not. But these are DGen's notes. Above average in round 2, below average in round 4, best putting surfaces on Bermuda, one of his favorite scrubs to play, so good for this Showdown, and good putter. It's not a be-all, end-all, and I know some people look at this and say, oh, those are just tidbits, the notes, who gives a shit, like blah, blah, blah. Most people won't say that, but if they did, then DGen's scorecard is for you, because this is straight facts.
Yeah, this is like a little cheat sheet thing where you don't need to like actually dig in this course that this gives you the basic information. Like, all right, we're playing on a bomber's track this week. You absolutely need to bomb it or be good off the tee. Like, this has you covered right here. This is beautiful.
Right across, right? You can see Vince Whaley again, what he excels in, what he doesn't. Full scorecard that you can find it. And then obviously it's a little bit to work with. It is best viewed on desktop. We always try and set you up for success that way. You can open up the PDF file. Works really well on mobile. If you're on an iPhone, for example, which hopefully you're on an iPhone, not an Android, iPhone. But if you're on that, you want to open it up in there, you can actually see it much better, zoom in pretty easily still, even from a mobile perspective. All of our pages are geared towards that. And then the XLSX file, if you want to mess around with it, or if you want to tighten it up and tie this into lock, or get rid of some people and remove all the live golfers, which are denoted over here that you can see. So just a lot that you can do, a lot of good things going on. We'll keep it going throughout Hoop, but where do you want to start with this Sony Open? It's a popular tournament. It's a course history style tournament, which I'm not usually huge on, but obviously the Masters, the Sony Open, certain ones do have their course history to them. And then it sticks with the quote unquote Hawaii swing, where oftentimes you see the people that got involved last week are already involved with the time change or whatever that might be. They're all good to go. So where do you want to start with the Sony Open? And then we'll have some fun with these tools throughout.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that stood out to me, this is going to, so in case you don't know, and you didn't watch last week, which you should have, D-Gen's back Wednesday night doing his live stream. So this is kind of a in-between first look and full dive type thing. And then, D-Gen will be back tomorrow night breaking it all the way down. But the one thing that stood out to me when I first dove in is this is one of those courses where I think everyone's kind of in play. Obviously, there's scrubs in the field that we're going to eliminate, but there's not like a specific skill set, I think, that you need to hone in on where you have to be a bomber or you have to be very accurate off the tee. I think this course brings everybody into play. So there's nothing really specific from that angle. Now, I always tend to lean the bombers, like even on courses where they don't necessarily have an advantage. I feel like these guys nowadays find a way to have an advantage. So that's the one main takeaway in terms of the course. Like, to me, everyone's in play. I think any sort of skill set could potentially win this week.
What do you think about when you see this face?
Him stiffing my kid for an autograph when literally no one else was around 2 years ago at the Rocket Mortgage.
D-Gen's notes: Hoop hates him because he didn't sign an autograph for Hoop's kid.
Yes,
can't even pull that up and make that up.
And that goes a long way. I mean, it messed him up for a year. I mean, if you remember, like, he was grinding to get back in at that point. I think he ended up missing the playoffs, and he had a bad year. So, you deserve what you get. You don't fuck with the kids, man. That's the one thing. Like, and even if you're not going to sign the autograph, just like wave and say, hey, how you doing, kid? Like, that's all it takes for these kids. It makes a huge I mean, I've gone on these rants so many times, like the NBA players, the baseball players. Even if you're a professional athlete and having the worst day and you don't want to interact with anyone, just look. Like, just making eye contact would be enough if you don't want to do anything else. So that shit tilts me. And yeah, he got what he had coming. Now he's obviously doing fine financially, so it hasn't ruined him in that way at all. But man, disrespect the kids. It's not a good scene.
I'll lose it. Just 1 second. Someone just reminded me of something. Oh my God, he's got it. It's in there. Look at this live.
Tambo doesn't like him because his
dad moved the kid. So this guy, Ben Martin, I know we're going off the rails already. It's the first show of the season, but this is what I love about this shit. This guy, and I didn't know he had this in here, Ben Martin, is talking shit to someone's kid who's so excited to see this guy. Buddy, no one even knows who you are. Yeah. You have 0 fans on the tour. Like, maybe your family's there watching somewhere, but they don't care about you either. And it's like Ben Martin is talking shit to the kid. He goes up and screws the hole up even more. And then we were talking a little, we were poking him a little on the way out, said he shouldn't have been rude to the kids, but he said Tambo doesn't like him because he's rude to children. I let him know. And the other parents were all for Tambo at that point because they were like, yeah, you let him know. They were scared to hop in and say something. I was like, no, you got to let this guy know.
You get the moms on your side, you're good to go. I mean, they love strength in numbers, and you gotta let them know, man. You can't.
So that's phenomenal. I mean, these notes are in depth. There's good notes in there. Like, I know, like, a lot of people this week are talking about Russell Henley, and we'll get to him in a second when we get there. But if I go into Henley, we got excels around the green in no cut events / majors. Strong in round 4, struggles in round 2, very accurate driver, fantastic at the short approach courses. So, I mean,
simplifies it, man. I mean, it simplifies it. So if you listen and the only thing you're taking away from this show is that it's an easy course and you don't need to be a bomber, you can start individually looking at players and seeing these notes, because it's going to kind of get you on the right path. And if you have any questions about whether, you can pull this up too. And man, there's so many different ways to use it. Very excited about this tool. Very excited.
That is a different Ben too. I kind of like Ben Griffin.
Our guy Kenny had posted up there. He said something about me. I already put it. Me and Hoops boy Ben Silverman. Yeah, Ben Silverman treated us well last year.
But he doesn't know that's my boy, because I wouldn't even have got into the Fantasy Golf World Championship. I won 3 seats at the last one of the year because Ben Silverman chipped in from 26 yards out, and I needed him to make it, or I go 5 or 6 in all of those. And then you got yours from another guy we'll talk about later, Sepp Straka, where you weren't going to the show. So and D-Gen's texted me as we're going through it. It says, Ben Martin has yours. I already checked it because the dad had me. But here it is too, like Russell Henley, right? You can see his strokes gained, his scorecard. You can see his off the tee stuff, right? For distance, not that guy. Accuracy, absolutely that guy. So if you're looking at courses where you hear everybody talking about accuracy and you're wondering how you're going to find out, well, who's good off the tee with accuracy. Well, here you go. You find it out right here. So probably enough of that, but just so you guys see, it's all there. If you are interested, the chat I saw, somebody asked about joining. Couple different promotions. You go to Join the Nation. It'll take you here. You go to Single Sport. Right now, it's a major deal. So just so you guys see it, and then we'll get into the tiers. You can take down the Silverman thing if you can for me, Hoop. Can you knock
sorry. Yeah,
off?
my bad, man.
Off. But this is the breakdown right now is $100 off. So $449 goes to $349. $399 goes to $299, and that's whether or not you need the optimizer or not. But most people are charging $400 or $500, no optimizer. We're at $349 with the optimizer, $299 without it. You get all the stuff we just talked about, but the main promo is right now, it's only January 7th. The Super Bowl is on February 9th. You get all access through the Super Bowl, and that's the last thing we'll go on. But just to clear it up, you'll get NFL, main slate, showdowns. You'll get the rest. I think college football is wrapping up, but you'll get all the golf stuff you're expecting. Showdown in Maine. You'll get the NBA. Shout out to our guy.
NBA crew's been crushing, by the way, man. Title had another close call. Rio had the 100,000. Yeah.
Me and Title are shaking hands on finishing next door to 100K for the worst drop-off in the century and not closing the door, but we're going to get one. Title's always positive about that stuff. I love to see it. NHL with our guy Nades rolling it out there. And speaking of Title and our guy Marley, MMA coming back as well. So you're going to have all this stuff. There's going to be pay-per-views, all that stuff coming up. So let's get to it. Maybe we'll leave the notes up, and if people want to talk about somebody throughout, we'll pull it up. But talk to me about this upper range. Let's go 9K and up, and how we think people are handling it here, Hoop. Because the other thing that's different right now, at least to start the season, they did not bring back that 5K range. Maybe they will when we get to a Scotty event. Obviously, Scotty has the little bit of the hand injury, so nobody was expecting him to play here anyway. There was an official WD, but wasn't expecting him to be in this tournament. But what's your thoughts on how people are going to handle this with no 5K range, Siwoo up to Hideki off the win last week?
Yeah, so I mean, you start at the top with Hideki, and even in fields like this, he's typically not like the most expensive guy. 11,000, it's an $800 drop off down to Corey Connors coming off the win. I think it's a big question. Like, what do people do with Hideki? I mean, what do you shoot? Was it 35 under or whatever last week? I mean, just absolutely insane numbers last week. But it is a big boy price tag. If you play him, you might have to come down and hit up the 6K range where, based on this field, it's going to drop off pretty quick. So $800 difference. Do people just say, you know what, I'm fine saving some money, not going with Hideki? Corey Connors, he's a guy that I typically like to play at 10-2. Again, it's an $800 difference between the two. Henley, like you talked about, this is a course where people are going to want to be on Henley. I think a great play for cash games. You save a little bit of money. Even if you do like Hideki, you're saving, $1,100 going to a guy like Henley. Tom Kim, Keegan, we have Benny on. And then, it does, these aren't guys that are typically in the 9K range. McIntyre, McNeely, Thigala, Siwoo Kim. So, I don't know in terms of ownership, what people are looking to do. So we're showing right now Hideki 32, Connors 25, Henley 25. It's kind of what I expected, to be honest. And then a drop off to the next group of guys a little bit. So, I mean, it's a pretty wide open range, but the one thing that definitely stands out to me is that $800 drop off from Hideki down to Connors, and your team's going to look probably quite a bit different. I mean, we'll see when we get in the 7K range what that looks like. What does $800 do in our lineups? But I think a lot of people will potentially take that 800 and look for upgrades in their lineups.
Yeah, I think it's about right now. I know this isn't even our baseline. These are the baselines, not really our initials yet, but just to note, it does look pretty similar to what we're going to see to start things off here. And I think it's because of the average salary remaining, $7,800. And again, talking about it from a DFS perspective, a roster construction perspective, what actually matters is DFS and the field you're playing against. When you have almost 8K left and there's only 10 guys in the 8K range, I think people are going to get to Hideki and Connors quite easily, and they'll even have some of them with them combined together. I don't think that'll be nearly as popular because I think people will make a stand and pick one. But I'm saying just in general, you don't even have to cross 7,200 to play this, and the 7K range is loaded. That's the one thing, remember, last year, if everyone does remember, and Hoop, you and I talked about it a ton, when they brought around the 5K range, it really sacrificed. Remember, there was some weeks we had like 18 guys in the 7K range? That was what messed it all up and made it a little bit tricky. We have almost 50 guys in the 7K. There's 44 guys right now in the 7K range. So there's plenty of ways to make lineups work. And again, I don't think this will be a popular starting point. It's very doable. But let's say somebody finds their guy in Henley, like you mentioned, or willing to go Connors, Henley, or something like that. You're right. At 75, there's 44 golfers you can pick from at that point to round out 2 spots. So, just using the hand builder over on Shiptimizer, I thought I would bring that up. But anything else you want to talk about when it comes to that?
No, let's how about we grab a guy or people post in the chat from each range, and we'll just look at what is here. So if there's somebody in this 9K and above range that you want us to take a look at on the notes, we'll plug it in and see whoever the most common name is, I guess, mentioned. We'll pull it up. But I don't know. It's like I just don't love a lot of these guys. Like I get the Hideki stuff, I get the Connor stuff, I get the Henley, but after these guys, like once I start going into the 8K range, I think I prefer a lot of 8K guys over the Tom Kims, the Keegans, the Benny Ons, the Bobby McIntyres of the world, McNeely's. Like I like McNeely. I'm a McNeely guy, but I see a lot in the 8K range that I probably like almost straight up over the 9K range. So for me personally, and I'm usually not this sort of player at all, like I could see myself going a more balanced approach this week opposed to the stars and scrub stuff. Like the Hideki thing, the motivation with Hideki is always a question mark to me. Like he's either in or he's out mentally, and coming off a win, is he going to be fully in this week? Full cut event? Like, I don't know. Like he does scare me a little bit. And if he is looking to have 33% ownership, that could, potentially be a spot where I just fade. That's one thing that's kind of standing out to me. Again, and I'm typically not this sort of player. I do usually like a stars and scrubs approach, but this week I think I might be way more comfortable with a balanced approach.
Yeah, one note real quick just to show it off while they're putting guys into the chat and before we move on. This worked last week. So if everyone, like right now, Hideki shows around 30%. Let's say as the week goes on, people do come down on him a little bit. I don't think they will fully, but let's just say it comes down some because of the quote unquote Xander effect of last week, where Xander was super popular up top. Did not work out. What did work out was playing 3 guys in the 9K range. And that's why it was interesting to hear you say that, because you usually hate the 8K range. You just let it slide always. Yeah. But you can actually still go, like, what do you like better right now? You can go Hideki and Connors, or any combo of the 2 up top. Hideki, Connors, Henley, any 2 of them with 4 mid-range 7K guys. Or do you like Henley, Siwoo, and Mav? I'm giving an example. 3 9K guys of your choice. Those are just guys that show popular right now. That puts you in the exact same range, only needing to fill out 3 golfers down there.
Yeah, probably even more extreme. Like I'm fine. Like, I do like Henley, but I'd be fine taking Henley out. And then I probably am able to get 4 guys 8K and above in my lineup. I think 8K and above is the sweet spot this week. There are 7K guys I like too that we'll talk about, but I'm just fine just hammering this 8K range and maybe the low 9s. We'll see, but I just don't even love these low 9. Like Thigala is always, we've talked about Thigala for years. It's just a boom or bust sort of play. There's just not very consistent. You either get the extreme good or you get the extreme bad. I think he's always in play for, GPPs and showdown sites. We always talk about him because he can spike these rounds where he just goes nuclear. But a lot of these other guys, I'd be fine being like lower on, like Keegan, Benyon, McIntyre, even my guy McNeely. Like I always like McNeely, but like 9,200, like I don't think I love him because, again, I can make the case for a lot of these 8K guys over him, and I probably like him straight up over him, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see like who it might be that you would be interested in, but you like some of these guys sort of.
So even this, you can do, if you're in the 8K range, you can pretty much, you can get 5 8K guys and 1 6K guy, right? Does that work if you just plug in like Luke Clanton?
More than that, yeah. Once you go to 5 8K guys, you won't even be. You're like we're at 3 8Ks and a stone 9, and still can be higher than the range of the average remaining of what we talked about with those other 2 scenarios.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's probably where I'm going to be focused this week, and you are kind of gaining leverage because those guys at the top are looking to be highly owned. Matsuyama, again, these are initials, and we'll update obviously when it gets closer, probably tomorrow afternoon. But Hideki 33, Connors 25, Henley 25. Like, man, like that's where all the reason the ownership's going there. It's not because people necessarily like them. It's just because it's easy to fit them in, right? Does that make sense? It's just easy to get to the top this week.
Yes, that's why I was showing off the top when you said that. It's like when you mentioned Hideki, it's like you don't even need the 6s. You can go Hideki, Connors, and still stay in the sevens. And people don't do enough analysis, which we do, on talking about what's the whole thing at hand. They just go through the ranges and say, this guy, this guy, this guy. And I get that. I've been part of it in the past. I like to focus on process and going through it with you here. And my takeaway is when there's 44 guys in the sevens, also, Hoop, look at this build. Sorry, let me finish my previous one. When there's 44 guys in the sevens, those builds work easily, to your point. So yes, I agree. But to your point on this 8K range, you can even stack a Henley or a Connors into this. And I know, well, everyone sees, but then you drop in it. That doesn't mean you have to go pick two $6,900 guys. Yeah. That means if there's even one guy you like in the 6K range, let's say 6,600 when we get there later. Well, now you're back into those same 7K range, but you've got your 3 8K guys. One of the dudes you prefer up top. It is Corey Connors' birthday this week, so obviously that means he's going to win the tournament. It means stellar, proven winner. What do we got for notes on Corey Connors? Let me get Connors in there. Well, see if you can find one in the chat too. But Canadien, he even put like the French accentien. Didn't put the accent aigu, but he put the N on there instead of Canadien. But elevates on bent POA, consistent round-around DK score, low T10 percentage, Pennywise eyes, at short, medium, hard courses, hate at long, hard courses, melts down in contention.
Yeah, I mean, you play it, and that's the thing. Now he's the second most expensive, and it always has been true with Corey Connors. Like, he's a top 10 guy. Like, he gets in the top 10. You don't really count on him to win. Now at 10-2, second most expensive guy in the field, not only do you need him to be in contention, but you probably need him to get up there. And again, I'm not saying like if you play someone at a certain price, they have to finish here or there, but the expectations change a little bit. If you're playing Corey Connors at 8K in a major, your expectations are different than playing Corey Connors 10.2K at the Sony Open. Like, there's just no denying that. Like, if you're playing him at the 8K price tag, you are playing him in hopes that he finishes in the top 10. You play him at 10.2K, you got to think that he has a chance to win the event, if that makes sense.
Yeah, not a great putter, but been putting better lately. And then just going back over here, D grade on Bermuda, the chat's talking about with them there too, right? So, Philly Phantom's already been all over this stuff there. But yeah, Kenny says it here, have some good course history, guys, low 7, high 6. So yeah, you can kind of do whatever you want. It's really just going to come down to how you handle it. But I think that's at least one thing interesting to note. So I should note too with these notes, DGen was just hitting me up. This is also only DGen's notes 1.0. We're not going to sit there and slap it on there, but they're going to keep getting updated and more throughout, and more guys getting thrown in. I know he's going to be waiting to throw his boy in, Roasty Toasty, because he didn't make it in yet, but he did make it in to this field. He actually won the Monday Q to get in, so maybe he'll get his boy in that way. But just going back to it, Hoop, anybody else you saw there that they wanted us to look up? Oh, muted.
Okay, that's a good sign though. That is a good sign. The first one that was pulled up was Keegan, so let's go with Keegan, see what he has in there.
Struggles at no cut events, and then it says elevates putting on bent POA, proven winner, balls, which he has been. I know people make fun of this, but it's been insane how much the guy's been winning. More than you would expect. Yeah. Ball striker extraordinaire. Putting has improved the last few years. Like him at medium, long, difficult courses. Just see here too. Yeah, you got to move it around for this. So I just wanted to see that too. But will grind winning contention. So yeah, good notes there on him. Again, it's not just a couple little notes. It's more than that. So let's move on. Let's look at this next range. And you already talked about how you're willing to handle it, but only 10 guys total in this range. Straka up to JT Poston.
Yeah, and I kind of like a majority of them early on here in the week. And again, could change when I go and build some teams. But I think this is, again, last year, a lot of times did not like the 8K range. This week, I like it quite a bit. Like, JT Poston is my boy. And at a course where you don't need to be long off the tee, that's where I like Poston. Someone in the chat said something about Pendrith, the year of Pendrith. Like, last year was a good year for him. I think he continues, man. I think he continues on. I think he ends up being one of the better guys on tour this year. So I really like Pendrith. Eckroat, I have some interest in. This Clanton kid, I'm going to keep playing him, man. Like, I'm going to play him 8,400. I mean, right around the average, what's the average roster spot is 8,300. He's 84. So an average price, you don't have to sacrifice anything to play him. He showed up in some majors last year, showed up at other events. Again, another player, another golfer that I think takes that leap this year. And at 8,400, like, I think he has winning upside in this event. So I'm definitely going to be all over him. One of my favorite guys here. Harmon, it was a disappointing season last year. Can he bounce back? Like, if he were to bounce back, it does seem like it would be a course like this, so I don't mind him. Ben Griffin, Hall, Straka, again, 3 guys that I don't really mind, and they'll be in my player pool this week. So I think this is a strong range. Like I said, I don't see much of a difference between these guys and Siwoo, McNeely, McIntyre, Benyon. I'm even going to throw Keegan in there. I just don't see much of a difference. So when I don't see much of a difference and I go to build my teams, like, I'm going to be able to get more of these guys in. And I think these guys in the 8K range have the winning upside too. It's not like I'm just playing them because I like them. I think a majority of these guys can win. I think Poston can win. I think Pendrith can win. I think Clanton can win. And I don't know, maybe a couple others. So this is a range very interested in and going to be overweight on a lot of these guys.
Yeah, DGen agrees with you. So here's what's funny is some of the notes will sway you both ways. I was going to say in this field, it feels like, I don't know if you've been following much of what he's been doing, but like 8th, a win, 17th, 6th, 16th. McNeely's been on fire. He's finally finding something. And I was going to say, it seems like he's a little bit undervalued versus, again, you're just throwing dudes on top of him. But then it is a good point. And I agree. I would prefer to play him when he's in the 7Ks, not in the 9Ks. And that's what makes it tricky because the 8Ks are loaded. Siwoo is $200 less and won here 2 years ago and can play well at times. If he's dialed in, he'll keep it rolling usually. You talk about Pendrith. A lot of these guys, too, a big factor is did they play the week before? I don't think it matters as much for a guy like Clanton, young gunner, still up and coming at an easy price tag here at just $8,400. But when you look at the guys that played last week, your boy, I talked about the Fantasy Golf World Championships earlier, Sepp Straka, 56-yard chip in, and he needs to hold it or hoop doesn't move on.
It's one of those things where I can remember where I was at in the exact conversation because I was leaving my son's baseball tournament and I wasn't watching. And, we were texting back and forth during the game and like could tell it wasn't going good for me because he kind of stopped giving me updates. And like, yeah, this can't be good. And I was looking at the leaderboard and I was like, Tambo slowed down on the text. And if you've ever texted with Tambo, he usually doesn't slow down on the texting. Like Tambo will keep the texting going. So I was like, man, this cannot end well if it's getting super quiet on his end. And then I get the phone call. It's like, oh shit, something big must have happened. You're like, you're not going to believe this. Substraka chipped in and you're going to advance. I was like, all right, hell yeah, let's go.
And DGen was in the texts as well with us after that, congratulating and saying like that's huge and all of that. And I will say, my talking and my texting very similar when I have time. If I don't text you back, I'm probably busy. But if I am texting you, it's usually constant. So that's the case there. But I thought that was just an interesting to bring up. Like Straka's down there, all these guys. So I guess I have to agree with you. Usually, and it's to your point. It's just so easy to fit those guys in up top. But do you really have high faith in a 10-2 Connors, an 11K Decky off a win, a 9,800 Tom Kim, Benyon, 9,400, Bobby Mack? We want to play at is Bobby Mack in here? I feel like he would fit the note of look at that guy, strong fields, not a super strong field, struggles in the weak fields. He's a grinder. It's not really the case. Proven a good T10 percentage, but doesn't really strike my fancy as like someone I'm thrilled about. We'll see as the week goes on. Obviously, I play an ownership game and, what the field's doing, try and leverage up. I think he's fine. His recent form has been pretty solid. 15th, 7th, 7th, 9th. This is the last 2 months, and they didn't play as much. He's seen the course. He's seen the course before, so you can go off of that. But what was I going to say? The price on him. And he played last week, obviously, but just to note it. So, I don't know. Some of these
certain guys, and I understand it's strength of field, and this is a little bit of a weaker field, but I don't care. Like, there's certain guys I refuse to play at certain price points, and this might be one of them. Like, I just – if he beats me, if Bobby Mack goes and wins this event, I don't have any of them, cool. We're on to the next thing, or we're on to Showdown. We can go to the Showdown streets, which, again, we talked about the Showdown streets, and I will say this. I love our product overall, main slate through Showdown, but if you are consistently playing Showdown slates and you don't have a membership at SHIPIT Nation, you are 100% doing yourself a disservice, and I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, just on on everything, but the projections alone, the stone, this like everything we cover, and then also even with Shiptimizer, we've got tee times in there. You've got the ability to build the player groups where you can build in sets, things like that I always talk about. So just a ton that you can do with Showdown, but everything you need to take care of it is right here. So just to make sure that if you're not in, get in. I was thinking about this one too, but The rocket ship, supposedly I know there's conspiracies around a rocket ship taking you to the moon. We know you can't run to the moon. Obviously, you have to take a rocket ship if you were trying to go to the moon, but you still can't go back in time. But the time to buy a SHIPIT Nation membership was yesterday, especially during PGA. Like, that's my new slogan that I'm bringing in here. So we talked about the appetizer, right? It's an appetizer, but it's a teaser for you guys. Lots of big things coming sooner than later. And you're going to want to have a membership at SHIPIT Nation. The best time to get in was yesterday. Let's keep it going.
I hate to always tease and talk about big announcements and big things on the horizon, but this one has a lot of validity, and we're not trying to bullshit you guys. Like, we have something very big on the horizon.
We only talk about it when it's real, and I think our credibility stands because it's always come true. We don't just talk the talk; we'll bring it out and walk the walk. This is one probably the most excited I've been actually in a long time. So Tambo never teases. The T in Tambo stands for tease. I know that, but I love it. I think it's part of the fun. I love marketing. You guys know that. So anytime I can bring something out and have some fun with you. But I promise you, and what we always say, you'll be taken care of. Anybody who's a SHIPIT Nation member always gets taken care of first. So appreciate you guys. These guys are getting too deep now, bringing the wife into it, and you name it. Shout out to my guy Kenny there, taking care of the wife and I, actually sending us down to Nashville for his Fantasy Football World Championship. But let's keep it moving, Hoop. The 7K range is strong. There is, I guess it's at least large. There is 44 golfers in here. So how do you want to talk about this 7K range? Let's think about it here.
Yeah, go through, talk roster construction, talk about a few guys that stand out. The one thing that definitely stands out to me is the top of this range is kind of an extension of the 8K range. And I guess that naturally makes sense because it's the next tier in line. But a lot of these guys, to me, similar mindset to those guys in the 8K range, where I just don't see much of a difference between some of these guys in the upper sevens and some of the guys in the low nines. So again, I can build these teams. Like, you showed on the hand build option where you can start building these teams where you can get 5 guys in the 8K and upper sevens in your lineups. And I do think there's win equity in the upper sevens. Like, I'm not a Billy Horschel guy, but at the end of last season in this sort of field, Billy Horschel would be like 9K. He's coming in at 7,900. Cameron Davis had big events last year. Chris Kirk, I always like Kirky, 7,800. He can win on tour. Mackenzie Hughes, Harris English, Tom Hoagie, 7,700, Denny McCarthy, Eric Cole. Everyone loves Eric Cole. This upper sevens, like 7,500 and above, to me, again, there's just not much of a difference between a lot of these guys here and these guys, some of the guys in the lower nines. So I'm going to be in this range quite a bit. The guys I rattled off are my favorites. I'm sure there's others. But, I really, really like this range. It's going to be a balanced build sort of week for me, which is typically not what I do. And the one thing, when you do go in and use an optimizer, you probably are going to get a lot of Hideki and Corey Connors and Russell Henley because it's easy to play those guys this week. So this is a week, again, people always ask these questions. Oh, can I leave salary on the table? Like, yeah, I definitely think you can. Like, this isn't a week where we have Scotty Scheffler, Xander, Rory, and we want a lot of exposure to those guys. This is a week at the top where you have Hideki, Corey Connors, Russell Henley. Like, you can sub out those guys in lineups and come down to an 8K guy and just leave the money on the table. So like the upper sevens for sure.
Yeah, you know what's hilarious is no matter what we do, like if we go through the ranges and talk about every golfer, the comments and the people are always like, oh, you guys named everybody in the field. If you go through and try and give some actual process and ways to get better at the game and show off tools and things that can help people that people are actually using to win real money week after week in PGA and other sports, they're also like, oh, where's the picks? It's you cannot win no matter what you do. It's hilarious. I want to see the notes on this one actually while we're having some fun with this one today, because I know this guy was a sad scene. And look, we got him with the visor too, the old Cisco Vise up top here. But at the Fantasy Golf World Championship, he just gave up and we got to see it live. It was literally just pure. Yeah, where's it at here? Very long driver, cool. Terrible putter and chipper. Choke artist. Yeah, that was a bad scene. Great approach. Wears ugly visors. So, solid notes and then a funny one. Like, I like the setup. It's just perfect. So, of note, he is at like 7,300 in this field. So something to mention there, but you called it. Like, this is an extension. And I think when you get in the upper 7K range, just talking about it early from an ownership perspective, it looks like maybe Cam Davis gets a little bit of steam, but people love Chris Kirky. There's a little bit of love for Mac Hughes, but I think it'll still be spread out, Hoop, because the way it looks, because there's so many of them, like Novak is getting steamed. McCarthy is getting a little steam. Keith Mitchell getting a little steam, but that leaves so many guys at 5% or less. So you can get different here very easily, kind of just play your guys down in these ranges that you want to go with, because I think that's sort of how it's setting up, at least how I'm seeing it right now. And a lot of guys didn't play last week. Not that that's the be all end all, but I think people will lean more into what they've seen. And it's like Billy Horschel, Cam Davis, Chris Kirk. The 75 to 77 range looks to be popular because you saw how it fits all those builds. That's what kind of like the structure of what we saw, right? When you're building the top, you can land here very easily. And it's guys that played last week: Hoagie, McCarthy, Dietrich, Cole, all those guys. And then you drop down from there and you get your, Steven Yeagers, your Nick Dunlap, Rookie of the Year, all that stuff. So it looks to me, at least going in here, Hoop, and maybe we can spend more time, is the bottom 7K range, even though it fits those builds with like Hideki and Connors, it doesn't seem that many people are playing anyone down here. Maybe Doug Gim gets a little love and Keith Mitchell, but I'm not seeing a lot of love in the lower sevens. Are you seeing anything down here at all?
There's just a drop off in, I guess, like name recognition, kind of like you touched on there. In the upper sevens, you have guys like Billy Horschel, you have guys like, Cameron Davis, Hoagie, Denny McCarthy. Those are more household names in the PGA DFS streets, and you come down to the lower sevens and there's not much of that. So I do agree. I think the ownership does drop off, and, a lot of people, that just means like if someone's who was it, Nick, and they're just giving me all the 7K guys under 7K. There's going to be a lot, or under 7% owned. There's going to be a lot of those guys just because the range is so big. So, coming down to the lower sevens, like just some names, like you ever have two golfers that just in your mind, they're like the same person, but like, they're not. To me, it's Novak and Putnam. Like when I think of those guys on tour, I just think of the same person. Like if I'm interested in Putnam, I'm usually interested in Novak for some reason. I don't know. It's like some weird mental thing I have going on. Check out the notes and let's see if they're close.
I was thinking of someone else will know. Mine is always Brendan Todd, and then there's somebody else. But let me check the notes on Novak.
Yeah, Brendan Todd. He looks like somebody. Brendan Todd.
So this is interesting for Novak because he's going to be popular this week, and it's underperforms in weak field tournaments. I definitely don't have this as a strong field. Poor in easy scoring courses, but he can be good in point per dollar and good in showdown. So like round one showdown, stuff like that. I feel better about that. There is a thing though about Novak on resort courses. I know that Mayo always talks about that. So I can't think about who it is. Novak Nation. Yeah. This was the thing last year. Our guy Paul, producer Paul over at the Mayo Media Network, talking about Novak Nation. I believe it's at resort courses. So maybe there's that. Putnam. Nice. Putnam always looks so mad in his pictures, like sad or mad. Like life's just not going great. Yeah. Outperforms his baseline scoring around 4, bottom 10 in driving distance, play at showdown when approach is on, better showdown play than week long. And he gets some ownership too. So
yeah. So like Thor, what's this dude's name? Thorn Bjornsson, or however you pronounce his name.
Thor Bjornsson, yeah.
Yeah, I was a little interested in him. Novak, Putnam, Yeager. You always kind of like Yeager. I think he can score. Maybe it's course dependent. People have been playing this Nico Echeverria, Keith Mitchell. I mean, he's the one guy in this field that looks like he could be a little bit more expensive. And then you think back to the Fantasy Golf World Championships, and you think about, like you said, absolutely gutless. I mean, the guy is just and like our guy Kenny said, like he's got a face. You'd like to just knock that visor right off his fucking head. But I still might play him this week at 7,300. With all that being said, Fishburne, Adam Svensson, 7,200. Nick Taylor, somewhat interesting. This Mac Meisner guy had a nice run last year, 7,100. Mark Hubbard, 71. You guys know I'm definitely playing him. Yeah. Hodges, I can find guys down here. So I will be playing some of these guys, and I can't imagine. I mean, there's got to be like pretty much no ownership, probably all under 5. Like, is anyone down here coming in with a solid number ownership wise? Can't imagine, right?
Not really. No, they're all going to be low owned. This is where Nick is trying to live, like you said. And obviously, if only we had a tool where you could find out who the good spots are down here to take advantage of. The Stone will be out soon, and tomorrow will be final. But just to note it, like this is a thing though, Hoop. When you put a couple of your favorite dudes in, I got Hubbard and Svensson. down here for you. I know you mentioned others, but let's just say you were to cut it off there. Even if you want to like, this is where you can build your lineup. You can get 3 8K guys and whatever dude you want up top, or just leave the money. And it's up to you as well. I'm just saying at a course like this, I think that's fine. But realistically, you can play your 2 7K guys that you love and a bunch of 8K guys and still go up, or you can pick your poison and fit a bunch of them in and just close it off and have your field day that way, right? You can just say, I'm going to play my 8K guys, 85-80 average, Mark Hubbard or Svensson, whatever you got money for, and mix some lineups around that, right?
Yeah, for sure. Again, they're all going to be very low owned. I mean, no one is over like 5% we're showing like in that range. I obviously always love Hubbard. I like Hubbard at these events where easy and you can score. It just seems like the dude has a way of, finding eagles randomly. So I'm always interested in Hubbard.
Yeah, I like me some Jaeger bombs. Always Jaeger bombs. Really good in showdown too. Usually like that.
Do you like actual Jaeger bombs or no?
Not really. No.
It's those have kind of died out though. I mean, it was, we're kind of similar age. That was the trend though for a while. People loved the Jaeger bombs. I had a friend that would always if we were going out drinking, he'd get a 5th of Jaeger and a can of Red Bull, and it just like Jaeger, Red Bull, and just do them constantly.
Yeah, that's a common pairing there. And I don't see what you're doing here, Hoop. Like we the same people that watch the golf show watch the football. We see you trying to move off your well-done steak tapes over to alcohol. Like we know what it is here, but I appreciate that. And I think it is a crazy story, actually, if you go look it up. I think the guy that, maybe I'm confusing, but the guy that bought Jaeger bombs and saw it in another country and then brought it over and did everything to make it blow up. I think he was the same guy that was involved in Grey Goose vodka.
Okay.
Maybe I'm messing it up, but the story's cool. And like he made I'm a big marketing guy. He made the Grey Goose bottle too tall to fit in between a standard shelf size so that it would have to be put on the top shelf.
Okay. That's interesting.
So I thought it was pretty cool. Just the story, if you read up, it might be this. I think it's the same guy. This is, speaking of same guy, shout out to our guy, Adam.
Yeah.
Right.
This one I'm on board with. But it's funny you mentioned Brendan Todd because I have the same thing with Todd too, but I can't figure out who the other guy is.
What is it though? Because I was thinking it was Brandon. Was there like Brendan and Brandon?
I'm trying to think because I have something with Todd too, where when they're in the field together,
it's not like, Brandon Wu, that's for sure. It's not Brandon.
No.
Who else would it be? Man, I wish someone could remind me of this, but it was always like that thing, someone between Todd and somebody else, but it's not who they think it is. And then someone else, we were just hoping that Rin went away so we wouldn't have to talk about EBR. But we are ultimately going to get there soon and get into it.
Yeah, that's it. Brendan Steele. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And speaking of Rin, of course, he's right there. He ain't going nowhere knowing that the 6,900 range is just around the corner. So I don't know. There's just real quick for me to round it out, and then I'm pulling up EVR's ass in the notes. But I think Cam Davis. I think funny enough, the guy that's going to get the ownership is Denny McCarthy. I don't mind a little Matthew McCarty. This guy's coming in at the exact same price and going to get clicked a lot less. I think Seamus Power, a little power hour. You can go there. Jaeger, Dunlap. I'm in on these guys at the price points. And then going down, I guess I'll take a shot on, I never get this guy right. I talked about it on the preview show that DGen, Mayo, Feinberg, and I did, but Kuchar, 7,200. Don't mind him. And then Svensson, I'm with you. Hubbard, I'm with you. Nick Taylor, another Canadian, interested in Nick Taylor here. And I don't see a bunch of others that I'm going to talk about. Like, not to hide them. I'm saying I don't see anybody that I need to talk about right now or know that I'm fully in on. So I'm not going to mention anybody just to mention them. Let's go here. Let's look up EVR. Look at this guy. Man, we got a lot of notes on this guy. Struggles on hard courses. Worst putting surfaces. So far, so good for EVR this week. High variance round to round. We're okay with a little boom bust when we're paying 6,900. Good T10 and can go nuclear. Perfect. If he makes the weekend, I mean, you can play it round 2 as well, but great at showdown. Getting better at week long, doesn't implode as much as he used to.
Man, so DGen it's a little endorsement from DGen there.
And he's the 2-time 52nd and 20th here. He's making cuts recently, but doing nothing with them. So if we trust the notes, our guy Rin could be getting some love here. So maybe it is going to be an EVR spot this week. And 6,900, a price so nice you don't got to think twice. Just plug them in lineups. And Patton Kazire is another guy there at 6,900 hoops. So anybody in the upper sixes, let's just do this and go. I like, speaking of our guy, Brendan Todd, he's right there. Who else?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely falls off. I mean, guys that I would be EVR, I don't know. Like last year, I played him a couple times and he absolutely sucked, like worst in the field. And then we got, Rin in here every week, like jerking off to him. And he's in my head now. Like I can't get it right one way or the other. So probably off of him. Adam Shank's a guy I like to play, 6,800. Alex Smalley seems like he's has some built-in upside. Ben Silverman, 6,700. Mine, and I guess you're trying to take credit as well. Mine and Kenny's guy.
He's Canadian, by the way. You're Americans back.
Yeah, but you don't like the Canadian golfers. I'm the one that likes all the Canadian golfers. Like these dudes are my favorite for some reason.
For some reason,
I'm definitely in on him. Carson Young, 6,700, and this is just like spitballing names, like dudes that are potentially in play. I don't know how much I'll play of them or if I need to at all. Ben Coles, 64, I think is worth a potential look. But, this is a week where you don't necessarily have to get the 6K range. Like pricing is very soft. The most expensive guy is 11K. Then after that, it's 10-2. Then there's nobody above 10K besides those two in this field. So this is a week where you can easily avoid the 6K range if you want. I'll probably play 5 or 6. It's kind of what I'm looking at here, but not all that appealing. And it would be guys that I'm just kind of low owned sprinkle type plays.
Look at all the notes on Ben Coles. I'm a Ben Coles truther as well. I'm glad you brought him up, but easy and long courses, strong in round 2, struggles on hard, accurate driving. These things fit here too. Yeah. Struggles on POA. Who cares? Wrote some great songs in the 90s. I don't know. Maybe I'm not old enough for that one, but I'm old, so I don't know. Dominated on the Corn Ferry Tour. Struggled so far. He's had some moments, but he's also choked in some big moments.
I guess the one thing about the last comment is I don't think there's been many big moments to choke on so far throughout his career. So it could be a couple times.
We got the nickname. See, we're already on 1.1 here. We've already stepped up. The Visor.
I do agree with Kenny though too. He said something about like Bo Hostler. That's another. I mean, maybe it's something with the visors, but like Bo Hostler reminds me. I don't know if this has ever happened to you. Like if you're, I don't even know if it's happened to me. Maybe I've seen it in a movie or something. But if you go to like a college party or frat party and there's like this preppy, dressed up little boy that is involved in altercation, but he's behind all like the tough dudes talking the shit. So the guy behind all the tough guys talking shit, dressed all preppy. I don't know. For some reason, that's what I see when I look at Bo Hostler.
Look at him. I zoomed him in for you. Dumpy Bo. We got all the nicknames are in here. This is lovely. So, yeah, I think this is the setup that we want. I don't know if you've got more. One thing I want to look up here, too. I wonder what DGen's I know what his take is on this guy. Oh, he's not in here yet. Jake Knapp must be coming in 1.2 version, but I know he always says this about Jake Knapp. So I already made a little note of my own, and I'm sure this will be in DGen's notes when he puts them up for Jake Knapp. We'll get Roasty Toasty in there later, and then we'll get a little don't sleep on Jake Knapp. But in these, he's a weak field guy, man. He comes into these fields and just beats up on people versus, this is a good one too. But he's the guy that can pop in and make something happen at just 6,900. I think that he was a bouncer for sure. That is correct.
Yeah, that's good. That's true tue. A lot of you know who my dad is. Energy from Hostler. I'm assuming I can definitely see
Matt
that.
McNeely. That's Matt McNeely.
Yeah, but like he can say that and actually mean something because isn't his dad like a billionaire?
This was the better one for Bo, I think. Bo's the guy who starts the fight and then jumps.
Yeah. That's kind of the feel I get with him for sure. It's like he's going to be the one talking the shit. He's going to get punched first and then like disappear, and then all the tough guys gonna hop in.
The other loser piece of shit, Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, I agree, man. We got to be one of the most overrated golfers just of this recent stretch. Like he is just, especially with all those guys going to live, like there's no excuse for Rory. And Rory freaking sucks, man. Rory sucks.
Yeah, I was just looking at who else is on here. Really good at it. I mean, these are all great notes. Luke Clanton up in the top row here now. Look at him. Excels at 200 plus yard approach shots, masher off the tee, elite upside, too early to tell. I like this note especially. This is where I think a lot of people shy away from stuff like this. And I don't know what there will be this week, just noting going back now, he's 8,400. Looks like he's already going to get at least to double digits. But I will say that this is, again, where a lot of people see something like that sometimes and they'll just shy away. Like, oh, too early to find out. No, it's like that's when you want to get in and see early on and get that boom round when everyone else is like, oh, he is the real deal. That's what we want, and that's what we've got out of Luke Clanton so much. What does Glover say?
I was going to say Lucas Glover needs to go back and watch that show. Was it a couple weeks ago? And when we talked about how to handle the girlfriends and the wives and, setting yourself up for success moving forward, he needs to tune into that show. Someone send him a tip.
Yeah, I agree with this. He seems like a nice guy, still wants to go get it done and go there. But this is the Lukey gloves, man. Very accurate. Worse on Coastal's good T10 at Sweat King and hides from wife after bad rounds.
He always has the wrong colors on, man. Like he always has the wrong colors on.
Yeah. Is it too much to ask to have a hoop food take every show?
Throw out some foods, and we can definitely hit on it.
I know what I was going to hit you with because we're getting late in the show anyway. This is one I forgot from the other day. Remember, it was in my mind. Pineapple on pizza.
It's funny you said that. It's so ironic you said that because Buddies, which you've had Buddies, right? You've had Buddies pizza when you're here in Detroit. Mrs. Hoop ordered it Sunday night, right? So she ordered it Sunday night, and she loves the pineapple on Buddy's pizza. And I don't mind it, but it's not my preference. So we went half pineapple and then just half cheese for the kids, and I just went with one piece of the cheese. So I didn't go with the pineapple, but I don't absolutely hate it. If I do it, though, I like pineapple and ham. I like the combination, pineapple and ham together, not just pineapple.
I'm not a big pineapple on pizza guy, but if I was doing it, it's funny you say that, the combination. It's actually not with the standard Hawaiian with ham. Okay. I actually like, there's a pizza that we have here that they do like Alfredo sauce with chicken, cheese, and pineapple. It's called like a tropical or something.
That sounds gross.
It's actually pretty good. Yeah.
Really?
It's surprisingly good. It's interesting, but it's not for everybody, and I get that. So
I like all the Alfredo stuff. Like I definitely like, that's actually probably one of the main meals I'd order if I was going to a restaurant. Fettuccine Alfredo with chicken, like that's something that is like a go-to meal for me. But throwing in pineapple, though, that sounds. I
forgot too. It has bacon as well, so it does, I guess, kind of have a big factor to it. So it is. So it does not have jalapeno or cream cheese, but it's just noting that one. Anything else on this field you want to talk about? Maybe we'll take one more food take after, but I don't have too much else down here. I mean, I talked about some of the guys, but Brendan Todd, Knapp, Kazire, I'm fine with the EVR conversation that we had. Joel Damon has shown up enough times that, I'm interested in, again, boom bust. He sucks sometimes, but when he doesn't suck, he's good. So I'm thinking about going there. I don't know if you're going to need a bunch of diamond in the roughs this week because they're all like 0.1% owned. So you're just so likely to get it. Remember the week Malnati won? I think he ended up on the winner, but then nowhere else in the top 100 or something. And yes, one snuck through and I go, well, you did need him. It was that close to not needing him because he was 0.1% owned. It just happened to slip through the cracks. So I'm never going to complain about having the winner, but just needing the 0.1% guy is also not always the thing that you need to do.
And like you said, like even if you get that right, you still got to get the other pieces along with it. It's not like you automatically win because you get the super cheap guy right. It's like I guess my main takeaway in the 6K range is you don't really need to come here if you don't want to. So if you're playing someone down here, you should like them, right? You shouldn't be playing them for roster construction reasons. You should be playing them because you think they have a chance to finish in the top 20 or top 15. So that would be my main takeaway in the 6K range. And this is actually funny from Nick, which is probably going to surprise him. But so my wife's best friend actually used to live in New Orleans. So we went down for Mardi Gras 2 or 3 times. And I have done the crawfish thing. And it's like where you have to suck the insides out of these little things. You put them in the pot, they cook them, and then you crack it, and it's literally like you're sucking out of a little bug's butt, essentially, right? He can correct me if I'm wrong. This stuff tastes, I don't know, I guess, I don't know, they season it and shit, so you don't really have a full taste on what you're eating, but it wasn't terrible. So I have done the crawfish thing.
Sucking unitone, he said.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's something like that. He can explain it probably a little better, but it's like, I don't know, then they season it all up and stuff. It's like a crawfish, you crack it, and then you're sucking the insides out, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, man. Guy, shout out to Derek. Yeah. He must be – Derek, are you back in school yet? Or, talk to us, man. What are the kids up to today? But I will say –
I think that's what it is, like the crawfish thing. I might be talking about something different, but yeah, no, it's the crawfish, and you kind of suck everything out of it.
Johnny Hunter, leave it to a Canadian to ruin pizza. Correct. Yeah, it was a Canadian that came up with the the pineapple on a pizza. Like I said, it's not my favorite thing. I'll have it on that one style that I talked about, but I'm definitely not signing up. You suck at the brain. Okay,
okay, whatever it is. They're small enough where you don't know what you're sucking out. I mean, it could be anything. I mean,
okay, what about who's talking about loving this stuff? What about oysters? Little slick back, little.
No, man, that's not. No, that ain't for me. And what's the? Yeah, see, I'm right. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I knew that. Yeah, I have done those oysters. I'm not a big fan of. What do they say? Like aphrodisiacs are supposed to get you going or something. Like I don't know. I've done it with actually the only time I did oysters and enjoyed it was in New Orleans, and they did. I'm sure Nick knows what this is called. I don't know the exact name of it, but it's they put a shot of vodka in there and then hot sauce, and you do it all as like a shot. That was actually somewhat enjoyable.
Yeah, well, if you need oysters to get you going, who needs oysters though when you got Roast Sparks, right?
Exactly, man. Yeah.
Our sponsor, Roast Sparks, you're good to go. You don't need that stuff. But I think it's just enough for this. We did the show. We got through. We got the food takes. I think each week we'll see what we can bring to the table when we go through this stuff. But I think sort of just looking at that roster construction stuff, bringing it through and being able to put it together will give you guys a better idea at least of what we're all about. There's a ton of stuff, but we want you sort of digging in, finding these things for yourself, being able to put these lineups together so that you're not just following Hoop's core and ending up on the same lineup as him and you go with Hoop or not. I mean, it's a good person to follow if you're doing it, but I'm saying in general, the point is to be able to set yourself up. We give you what you need from a process perspective to be able to build your own, find your own way, find your own picks and plays and put it together your own way. We have a ton of different stuff with the education courses, the mastermind program, everything that you need under one roof and a lot more coming. Like we said, we talked a lot about food, the appetizers, man. You got to have an appetizer before your meal. The appetizers are coming in strong. Any final thoughts from you, Hoop, before we get out of here?
Yeah, we'd love to have you this PGA season. And like I said, I mean, this in the industry, this is the home of PGA DFS. Like if you are somebody that's interested in content, we have you covered on all angles, and it's only going to get better. I mean, that's the one thing that we've always said and stuck to since launch. We're going to improve and add on along the way, and we're not going to stop improving and adding on. And that's been true in every sport, and I'd say especially so in PGA. And the appetizer, like we've rolled out a couple times, something is going to get much better very quickly.
I'm back in school. Sad ass week.
Yeah.
And then he said, pretty sure after going to New Orleans for 5 days gave me permanent diabetes. So shout out to Derek. Shout out to everybody for watching. We appreciate you guys. If you do want to get in, remember the code's already pre-built in. So PGA 100 gets you $100 off plus free all access through Super Bowl 59. It's just auto built in. When you click this, you pay $349, not $449. We don't ever hide from our prices because go look around. We're not too scared when our price is by far the best value across the board, especially when you include an optimizer at $349, $299 if you've got your own optimizer or don't need it. And that, again, $100 auto built in. You'll just pay the $299. You'll immediately unlock NFL, the rest of college football, NBA, NHL, MMA when it comes back. And PGA, of course, is what you're originally signing up for. So all that and more, get in now. If you need anything else, let us know. You can hit me up directly on X or anything you need from there. That's going to do it for this one, guys. For Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo, golf is back, baby. Let's ship it.